Let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Yeah. Let's have a conversation. Oh, yeah. Look. Yeah. Hey. Let's have a conversation. Woo. Pick up some gems, life is all you make. Go. We keep it real, we don't talk to fake. Tell them how this talk show on the net coming for all the mates. Let's have a conversation. Woo. Pick up some gems, life is all you make. Go. We keep it real, we don't talk to fake. Tell them how this talk show on the net coming for all the mates. I think it's time to have a conversation. Let's talk about it. I think it's time to have a conversation. Let's talk about it.
Hello, everyone. This is Michelle Biggs, CEO of My Best Everyday Coaching and Consulting, and host of this video podcast, Real Conversations with Michelle. And tonight is episode 2 of a series I started about a month ago titled Affairs of the Heart. And tonight we're going to talk about grief, specifically from heartache to healing, living through grief. And I have a fantastic guest who's going to be joining me. But before I introduce her, let me tell those of you who are new to me and my podcast a little bit about myself. I am an executive and career coach and also a master certified life coach. I started this podcast in 2020 when many of us were stuck in our homes. Little did I know I would still be going strong, celebrating 5 years in July. And I've been able to cover a variety of real life experiences with the goal of all of us learning and growing together. And like any educational program, I ask that you do your homework to validate that what you're hearing really makes sense for you and your situation. So tonight, y'all, I am excited to have joining me Miss Lydia Ford, and I'm going to have her join us now from the green room. Lydia.
Good evening, Michelle. How are you?
Good evening. I am doing well. Why don't you tell our guests a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm Lydia Ford. I'm a mom. I used to say one, but I am actually a mom of 2. My daughter just happens to be in heaven.
Yes,
and I have a son, a grown son. I have 4 grandchildren. I have a daughter from a granddaughter from my oldest child, who was Danielle. She's 16. My son has 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, Brianna, Brittany, and Zai. I'm also a published author. I love to journal. I'm an ordained minister. I actually pastored a church for 8 years. In Hartford and Bloomfield, Connecticut. Don't forget to say your prayers international. I'm a keynote speaker. I've traveled to Kenya on mission trips and also Jamaica. I see myself as a transformational leader. Women's ministry is very close to my heart. I was the president of our women's ministry at Hopewell Baptist Church for over 10 years. And so women's ministry is very close to my heart. And then when I moved to Raleigh 3.5 years ago to help take care of my mom, who was living with my brother, I decided to continue my education. And I became a certified grief counselor, which is very dear to my heart. One of my mantras is, or my mantra is, I help people who are stuck in grief to get unstuck. And so my journey of grief is what I'm going to be hopefully sharing a little bit with you all tonight. And I do thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, and I appreciate you. And I met Lydia, you all, as she was leading a ministry also at your current church, Covenant Life Fellowship.
Yes.
And I was a guest speaker for Rainbow Luncheon. And I just love your heart, Lydia, and your desire to just help many people. And that's what has attracted you to me, and following you and listening to some of the other things that you do, which you'll be able to talk about in a few minutes. But let's get started with this topic, because grief is a broad topic and something I know you and I have talked about. It's not just about the loss of a loved one, which we often, when we think about grief, that's the first thing many of us we come to think about. But it's so many other facets that fall under grief. So I want you to talk a little bit about what grief is. And I know you wrote a book called The ABCs of Grief. So you're going to give a little bit of your wisdom from that too. But before we get started, because this is a deep topic. And I know you and I talked about this. I know I'm still working through some things myself. With grief, with the loss of my dad. So I'm just going to ask my audience and you and I just take a deep breath, just for a few minutes. Just take a deep breath in and release. And one more time, take a deep breath in and release. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for you, Lydia.
You know, it is so surreal. It's so surreal that I am on with you this evening because October 28th, 2010, I lost my daughter. And the next year, 2011, I lost my husband. So it's their anniversary of both of them, of their deaths. They've been gone 15 years and 14 years. So I probably wouldn't have been able to do this about 10 years ago, but I thank God that I'm able to smile. I'm able to
and we'll talk about the phases. About the phases, right? Because I thought,
let's go. Well,
grief
is an emotional response to loss. It affects us mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's often associated with the death of a loved one, but it can also occur, after significant life changes, such as divorce or serious illness. It encompasses a wide range of feelings, including deep sadness, confusion, and even relief. And it is a natural part of coping with loss. It's deeply personal. It's a deeply personal experience, and no one's grief can be or should be compared to another person's grief, because I have learned that you grieve according to the relationship that you have had with that individual. So that will look different, with different people. It's deeply personal. It varies from person to person, and it's shaped by the loss, again, the relationship that you had with that individual. So no one can rush you through grief. It takes as long as it takes, because everyone grieves in their own way and at their own pace. There's no specific or usual amount of time for people to experience the complete phases of grief. I want to talk to you about some of those and the grief. The grief feelings. A woman by the name of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote about the concept of the 5 stages of grief experienced by terminally ill people. Now I want to clarify, because not everybody experiences these grief reactions linearly, in a straight line. So, and some may not even experience them at all. But here they are. The first Lydia, one is denial. The second one is anger. We're talking about the stages.
Yeah, hold on a second, because you're breaking up just a little bit. Can I ask you, just make sure your windows, if you have any windows open, maybe close your other windows, because I don't know for anybody else, but you seem to be breaking up just a little bit. And if this is the only window you have open, that's fine.
It's okay. Let me see. I may have this one open.
Yeah. And you were good when we started, and of course, before we logged in. But I don't know if anybody else. Okay, keep going.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So here are the phases: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And denial happens when you hear someone passing and it's unbelievable. It catches you off guard, and you're just like, how did this happen? This can't be happening to me, that kind of thing. But the other thing that happens in the process of grief is anger. It can cause anger. I know I was angry when my daughter was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I'm like, this cannot be happening. She's just 29 years old. She just had her first baby. I was totally done. I was angry. And then we have this thing called bargaining. Bargaining happens when someone is, maybe have been given a terminal illness diagnosis, and their spouse or their sister or their husband or whatever, they try to bargain with God, through prayer. Lord, don't let this happen to him. If I did something wrong, please forgive me. If I have to change my ways and be nicer or kinder, then I'll do it. That's called bargaining, trying to get God to persuade God not to allow this person to die. And then depression. Depression comes as a result of the pain and the sorrow that a person feels, that they cannot change what has already happened to that individual. And so they don't want to be bothered with anybody. They disengage. They find it difficult to perform tasks regularly, routine tasks that they used to be able to do. And then there's acceptance, when you are not coming back. So I need to push forward. I need to find a way to exist and go on without that person. And then in 1970s, there was a British psychiatrist, Colin Murray Parks, a psychologist, John Bowlby. They came up with a concept involving 4 stages or phases of grief. And this one I definitely experienced, and it was shock and numbness. I was shocked that, first of all, the diagnosis, and then even after my daughter passed, she lived 14 months, but there was a numbness that sets in. I couldn't remember names. I couldn't remember numbers. It was just like my brain stopped working. I had to write things down in order to remember, like people's phone numbers that I generally would just at the top of my head. So it follows, numbness and shock follows a loss to death. The grieving person feels numb, which is actually, watch this, a self-defense mechanism that allows the person to survive emotionally in the immediate aftermath of loss. And I believe that God does this so that you don't really, have an instant heart attack or instant stroke or, do something to hurt you. It's a shock or a numbness that comes over you. Then there's this thing of yearning. After your loved one has been gone, a month, 2 months, 3 months, even a year, you're learning, you're pining. And it's characterized by grieving the person's not being with you anymore. Many emotions are attached to that, like not being able to sleep, weeping, anger, anxiety, preoccupation, and even sometimes confusion. I'm moving on. Disorientation or disorganization and despair is number 3. Here, the grieving person often desires to withdraw and disengage from others and activities he or she regularly enjoys doing. The bereaved's feelings of searching become less intense, while feelings of apathy, anger, despair, hopelessness, and then questioning increase. So you feel disoriented, you're disorganized, you're in despair, you don't know what you're going to do. The things that you used to do, you look forward to doing with that individual, you're not doing them any longer, and you haven't really figured out, well, where does my life go after this loss? And then finally, reorganization and recovering. That's the final phase. The grieving person begins to return to a state of normalcy. Sometimes people gain weight after a loss. Sometimes people lose weight after a loss. So sometimes your energy that you didn't have, your energy levels increase, your interest in things and doing things again that you formerly did, but after you just stopped doing, you just had no say is that grief never ends, but thoughts of sadness and despair diminish. It lowers over time, while watch this, positive memories now replace that despair, that depression,
Mm-hmm.
that yearning, that longing over time. All right, so those were the 4 from this British psychologist Colin Murray: shock and
Yeah.
numbness, yearning and searching, disorganization and despair, and then reorganization and recovery.
Yeah. And I would think, Lydia, that you can phase in and out of all those stages. Am I correct?
You
It's
can.
like, is it
It
is it
does not.
linear? Yeah.
No, it's not linear. I
Yeah.
mean, you could
Yeah.
just be going about your day, and it could be it could be a cloud formation, it could be a smell that takes you right back to that
Yeah.
place, of
Yeah.
longing and yearning, and having a moment of sorrow.
Yeah.
That doesn't move linear.
Okay.
And as I said, you
Cool.
may not experience all of those places.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lydia, you keep going in and out, and it's like we keep hearing you, but your video keeps going in and out. I'm not sure what's going on, but let's see what's happened. I may ask you to go out and come back in and see if that will help us. But let's keep going. And if someone in the comments can just maybe let me know on your end, are you hearing and seeing the same thing that I'm hearing and seeing? We cannot we over plan and prepare for this stuff, and sometimes the night of the event, who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, but I appreciate those phases, and I found myself my recent the death that really hit me was the death of my dad. And he had been sick for a while, and I always thought, okay. Thank you, Melanie. She says she's hearing some pauses, so we'll see how this goes. But I know I knew he was sick, and I had made all these plans in my head that, after I retire, I was going to go home and I was going to help my mom. And what Dominique and Melanie, is it me, or is it also with Miss Lydia? If you could just tell me where you're sensing some of the pauses, because then Lydia, maybe what we'll do is just have you go out and come back in. So let's see what they say, because you're sharing some very good and great information. I don't want people to miss it. Yes, Lydia, it's you.
And
Lydia,
I
why
don't
don't you
have
go out
anything
and come back
open.
in?
I
Yeah, go out and come
Okay.
back in. Let's see if that'll
All right.
work. And then just make sure everything is closed in your background. And
Okay.
I'll keep talking, and I'll make sure I'm
Um,
looking to let you back in.
I have to use your same. I have to use the same. Right.
Yep, the same link.
Okay.
The same link.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they're saying it's not me. Thank you, audience, for letting me know. I know I was hearing it on my end, and like I said, we got on and everything was fine, and then you go live, the internet just goes crazy. So hopefully she'll get in. But Lydia knows this story, so I'll go ahead and share it. But at the time my dad passed away, I had in my head, I planned, he had Parkinson's, and then had turned into Parkinson's dementia. But I had planned to retire, and in my head, I was going to go home and help my mom after I retired. And I was scheduled to retire on April 16th. And my dad actually passed away on April 1st. And y'all, I was heartbroken. I remember I just screamed. And I had guilt for a moment as well. But I remember screaming in the parking lot when I got my sister's call. So many of you may relate to those stories of just hearing that news for the first time. And how do you feel? Lydia, you're back? Yes, you're back. Can you hear me, Lydia?
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back. Hopefully.
All right. We're gonna see how it goes,
I
Lydia.
don't have
But I was
anything.
sharing my story of what
Okay.
my dad and what I felt, and it took me a while to really deal with that. And even after a year, I thought I was good, and then just had this moment on a cruise this year where I was sitting at an event, and this woman started talking about how this was the first time she was on a cruise without her parents, and I just boo-hooed,
Mm,
right? Just boo-hooed. Um, so as you said, it can come and go. It doesn't have a time limit.
that's it.
And also in terms of loss, loss of relationships. I remember, in my
Yes.
early 20s, just um uh separating from someone who I really, 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 really cared about. And I just, as much as I cared, I still had, it was a sense of loss, right? So we know that in relationships, we can feel a sense of loss and feel a sense of
Hmm.
grief. Job loss, right? Everything everybody's going through right now. Some
Yes.
people have
Yes.
lost jobs.
Job
That can be
loss,
part of it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So talk about li-
miscarriage,
y-
miscarriage,
yeah,
stillborn birth.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Um, dementia.
yeah,
Those that are caregivers are grieving, and the person that is also, the one that has the
yeah,
Alzheimer's or the dementia, they're grieving. They're
yeah,
how they used the relationships that they used to have.
yeah,
Even dreams that they, deferred dreams that they had, that they thought that they were going to be able to accomplish, and then it's cut short.
yeah,
So yes,
yeah,
it's a lot. Even abandonment, children that have to be displaced or placed in orphanage, or with other families. That's
hmm,
grief. The
yeah,
children are grieving and the parents are grieving, because stuff is happening with
yeah,
families, as they go through divorce, separation, and there's a lot of emotional detachment and grief involved in child
yeah,
separation
yeah,
from parents. So a plethora of types of grief, and we just focus on just the death of loved ones.
yeah. Talk about, and you talked about the loss of your daughter being being hard, right? No one expects to lose a child, to lose a child, and
No.
yeah, and I know your husband, and then you lost your mom this year. Um, Talk that through a little bit about how you kind of managed all of that and got to the
Right.
point of feeling okay.
What was the question?
I said, how did you manage through all of that to be in a good place that you are tonight? Like you
I hear
said,
the
if
question.
this was done years ago, you never probably couldn't have done this podcast, right? Knowing this was the anniversary of their death.
Right, yeah. Mhm.
Hmm. What were some of the
Right.
things you did to manage
Gonna
through,
be
Lydia?
honest with you.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just the daily routines. I was still teaching. I had been teaching for over 30 something years. I taught third grade most of my career. And able to and so there's 11 kids. It was a chore. But the great thing about teaching is, every year they give you 20, days, so you can accumulate them over time. So I made sure that I gave myself enough time
Hmm.
to grieve intensely before I went back to work, because there was no way after a week, after 3 weeks, there was no way I could go back to work. So
Hmm.
my daughter was buried in November. I had to really, grieve and sit in the pain. I had to sit in that pain
Hmm.
many days and just do what I had to do, the tears and the holler and the screaming, whatever. And I couldn't go back to work until I
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
hours where I'm not just falling apart. So the other thing is I learned to take care of me. I learned to be
Mm-hmm.
kind to myself. I pampered myself. I remember, just buy a new clothes to wear a lot of dark clothes. I just said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, gotta get out of these grief clothes, black, brown, navy blue. So I changed my
Mm-hmm.
wardrobe. That was one of the things I did. I learned to take myself out to breakfast or lunch. I learned to, I might sit there, tears or whatever. But I learned to love myself. I learned to pamper myself. I did a lot of writing, a lot of journaling. I had started journaling back when I was in my 40s. So it came natural that when this
Mm-hmm.
happened, that I would put pen to paper and start writing my feelings.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it never, I took time from church. I took
Yeah.
time from church. Time people what to say to you. They say some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I make sure I stayed away from church until I didn't feel that offended, get mad because you don't say something that I want to punch you.
Yeah.
Especially after my husband died, because it was 2 deaths in a row. I took my little
Mm-hmm.
behind. I took my butt on a vacation. I went to the grill, and people would say, "Oh no, you shouldn't go to the grill. You shouldn't go to Jamaica. They got witches over there." I said, "They got witches right here." I took
Mm-hmm.
myself to the grill, and it was at
Yeah.
Christmas time. It was at
Yeah.
Christmas time. It would be my first Christmas without my daughter and my husband. And so I took myself there. I had great times. I just took care of Lydia. It was beautifully
Yeah.
decorated. And then what I did was I wrapped my ticket around and I went to my mom after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Lydia, I'm
So,
gonna put you,
I could get
let's try this because it may be your
the good
Lydia,
food,
maybe
the
your
hugs,
video.
and the support. So you have to take care of yourself. You got to be.
Lydia, why don't you turn off your video? Because it may be
Yes.
your video is pulling too much energy on your side. So turn off your video and let's see how that works with the audio.
How do I? Okay. How do you?
You see that?
How video? Down here? That I don't know. Did that
Let's
help?
see here. Yeah, okay. Let's see how that works because sometimes video takes up a lot of. Go back because you're back on screen. Hit it again, Lydia.
I don't know if I.
Yeah, you did. Yep, you
Okay.
did it. Yep,
Okay.
that's it. That's it. So let's see what happens. Let's see
Okay.
what happens in terms of your voice. Okay. So
Okay.
what I heard you say, you end up doing a lot of things just to keep you occupied and remove yourself from situations where you knew you could be triggered by folks, right? Um,
Yes.
let's talk
Yes.
about the
Yes. Yes.
people who want to appear who suppress their feelings or try to appear strong. Can you talk a little bit about what happens when we do that? And what are some healthier ways to allow ourselves to feel without falling apart? If there is such a thing. What's your views on that?
Well, many people suppress their feelings trying to remain strong or appear strong. And a lot of times people are believers because we are have the Holy Spirit. We're disciples of Jesus. Those of us that have that belief, we think that prayer, reading the Word, being involved in different activities or ministries in the church is a prerequisite for being able to stand up against any type of trial, any type of suffering, any type of pain. But what you're doing is you're just suppressing it. You're faking
Yeah,
it till you make it. And and
yeah,
and and and, and what happens is you're hurting yourself because you're not releasing the emotions. Tears are actually the first step to healing and being
Yes.
transparent and authentic. So you have to be able to release that pressure. All right. Doesn't matter if you're the bishop, you're the apostle, you're the prophet, you're the event. It doesn't matter your title. Everybody grieves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody grieves. So, and if you don't grieve, it actually can become internal. It goes inside of you. It can go to any of your organs. It can go.
Yes.
You can have stomach issues. You can have problems with your hearing. It goes internally and it affects you physically. So we all must grieve.
Mm-hmm.
So feeling remaining strong is not to agree. All right. We all need to agree. We got to allow
Yeah.
ourselves to feel that pain. And sometimes you got to sit there in it.
Yeah. And it's funny. I don't know
Does
if my
that
mom
answer
is
your
watching.
question?
Yeah, you did. I asked my mom to join.
Writing, journaling,
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I don't
therapy
ever get emotional
helps.
when I say this,
Journaling,
but yeah, yeah. We'll talk about
that's
some
okay.
some other things as well, Lydia. But I know the first time that I actually saw my mom grieve was this past holiday season. And when you talk about wanting to remain strong for everyone else, that's what I kind of feel like she did. And it just felt like once she had that release, she was so much better. Because like you said, a lot of times we mask our grief for fear that others are watching us and
Judging.
wanting to appear strong, right? Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of these
Yeah.
comments. I see
We're
you.
afraid that people are judging us, especially church folk. They will judge. They will
Yeah,
say, "Oh, you must not have faith. You must not have enough faith." To be absent in the body is to be present with the Lord. So
yeah,
where they're going. You read the book. It's
yeah,
judging,
yeah. And Gim
and
C, I see
it
your
makes you angry.
yeah, I see your note. One of the guests said they taught us not to wear our problems on our sleeves, but then they are not being addressed, right? So our issues are really not being addressed, right? When we don't um when we suppress, how we're feeling. So Lydia, how does someone know that they're in the space of healing? How can someone recognize that they're starting to heal? Your views on that?
I think you can recognize when you don't have that intense pain, like someone would, give you a gut punch to your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
When you can get through a day without having that intense pain, when
Mm-hmm.
you can get back to and be able to start and to finish a task without
Mm-hmm.
falling apart. When just the little things, the little serendipities, the little joy that you used to have begins to come back. When you can actually laugh again, when you can even say
Mm-hmm.
that oh my God, without falling apart, or you can remember an incident or a memory of them without really falling apart, and it actually brings a smile to your face, and you're
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
welling up with tears and just losing it when you can go back to work. All right, and you can actually get through the whole day,
Yeah.
when you can be around your family around holidays,
Mm-hmm.
days, holidays, and not
Yeah.
fall apart. And if you do, it's okay. But
Yeah.
you know that you're starting to heal. It's a little bit at a time. And you got to
Right.
take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Because
And
all
let's
of that
let's
adds
talk
up.
about because we're getting ready to enter into that. Well, we're entering into the holiday season. Um, which can be tough, especially if you just experienced a loss. And I know I have friends who experienced a loss, two different sets of friends who experienced loss of their mom over this past week. Um, what are your suggestions in terms of things people can do to manage through the holidays? What's some things that helped you?
I think I talked about one of them. One of
Hmm.
them, if you can plan it, yeah, plan a trip. You might plan a trip with
Yes.
just you and your BFF.
Hmm.
You don't have to go out of the country. It could be a short trip. Again, making sure you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
If you've not had a mani pedi in a while, or a facial or a massage, having those during the holiday can kind of pick you up.
Yeah.
Here's one change. You may have to change a tradition.
Yes.
Black folks are famous for traditions, especially around the holiday. Certain types of food you eat, certain types of decorations, or just protocol. You might want to change that up. For example, if you lost a mother or if you lost a husband, there's certain traditions that happen around the holiday. You usually have the collard greens,
Yeah.
the black eyed peas, the
Hmm.
turkey, you might not even want to go anybody's house for Christmas. You just might
Hmm.
want to go out by yourself, take yourself out, or be with a close knit group of people that understand what you're going through, your BFFs,
Yeah.
your prayer partners, a best friend or whatever. So you may have to change up, and it's okay. Even if you want to be alone, it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't suggest being alone the whole time. One in my book, From Broken Bread to Poured Out Wine, in my book, I talk about the anniversary of the first
Yeah.
Christmas, the first Easter, the first Thanksgiving. See,
Mm.
you have to plan ahead when these holidays are coming. The first birthday without that person, you got to plan ahead, because if you don't plan ahead, you shipwreck yourself. So
Yeah.
plan to memorialize, to do something to recognize that person, to honor them, their legacy, their importance in your life. But don't spend all day, grieve. Could be 2 hours. You might do like releasing of balloons. You might
Right.
have started a nonprofit or a walk or something. But make sure you plan ahead so you're not
Yeah.
disappointed. Plan
Yeah.
something in memorial, but plan something fun. Again, it might not look like what you have always done, and that's okay. All right,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. Venice, thank
Traditions
you.
can change.
Yeah. My friend Venice said the same thing. I know she lost her husband years ago, and she lost her mother this year. Venice, thanking and praying about you as well, praying for the family. But she said definitely change traditions, but you have to plan. So, yeah, definitely that. I know last year, because I knew I was in this space, like all of 20, rest of 23, I was fine. Last year, I found
Have to
myself
plan.
thinking I was okay, but I did for the first time in years. I decided to go home for Christmas and New Year's, and was the best thing that I could do, because, like I said, at that point in time, it was the first time I actually saw my mama also finally released her emotions as well. So, thank you. Anyone in the audience, what have you guys done? Time to share. For those of you who are on Facebook, you can share with us. Those of you on YouTube, I should be able to see your comments, but anything you would suggest, please let us see your comments. Um, let's talk about support system during this time. So for friends and family, when someone is we know is grieving, what's the best way for us to show support, Lydia, in your mind?
Just be present.
Hmm.
Just be present. Um, I did a workshop few months ago. I think it was right after my mom died, so it was probably around May. And the title was High Tech, Low Touch. A lot
Hmm.
of times, people that are grieving do not get as much support after the funeral. there's the wake, there's all that stuff
Yes.
before the person is buried, there's the wake, and then there's the funeral. But they do not get a lot of support after the funeral. People need to
Yeah.
understand that people are still grieving after the funeral. So you
Yes.
need to be present. It's good to send memes and we can use technology and all of that, but people need your touch, okay?
Yes.
People need to be
Yes.
touched. They need to speak. You need to be present. You can, if they have a family, because sometimes people just need to be by themselves. You can take their kids to a movie. You can pick
Yeah.
them up from their sporting event. You can. My church does sharing and the meal train. You can
Yes.
sign up and have meals delivered to them through various different. Well, we call it the meal train, but
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
actually they will sign up online and do different meals delivered to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can just take them out for a walk, to the
Yeah.
mall, a place where they they enjoyed going before they suffered the loss. So being present and
Yeah.
following through. I had
Yeah.
prayer partners. I had great friends. And so it's important to stay in the word, stay
Yes.
connected, stay rooted and
Yes.
grounded in your faith. My faith
Yeah.
was so, so important to me.
Yeah. Lydia, hold on one second. I'm gonna have to switch out my cord because I see my laptop is about to die. So give me one second. Hold on.
Sure. Mhm. Can I keep talking while you're doing that?
Hello, everybody. I am so sorry. I am so sorry, y'all. I'm looking at the thing. Can you hear me, Lydia?
I can, yes.
Good, good, good. Sorry, I'm looking
Mhm.
at that. So I thought my laptop was plugged in and it wasn't plugged in. So anyway, apologize, y'all. But here's a question we have, Lydia, from my story sister. Says, how do you support someone whose child was killed suddenly by gun violence years ago? When you see them, do you bring it up or not? What's your thoughts around that? And I don't think it matters what the situation
I
really
think
is.
that you have to no, you have to allow that person to bring it up and let them talk about it. The best thing that anybody can
Mhm.
do in that situation is to really listen and
Yeah.
let them talk about it. Um, we have to be careful not, and this was happened years ago, you say?
Yeah,
It
yes.
was a while ago.
2 years ago. 2 years
Yeah,
ago,
we have to
Lydia.
be careful. Yeah, not to rush people because that's such a traumatic thing. And a lot of times
Yeah.
what happens is people suffer what I call secondary trauma. All right, it's not just
Mm.
as well. So secondary trauma is like trauma that occurs when individuals experience emotional distress as a result of exposure to the trauma experience of other people. So,
Mm-hmm.
something because they don't know exactly how to help that person. When I think about secondary trauma, think about first responders, think about children that have been terrorized and shot up in schools.
Mm-hmm.
When you witness something like lasting memories, and so you kind of keep revisiting that same incident. You start dreaming about it. You start being thing to do is to wait until that person just again just be present. um
Yeah.
you can, if that person knows when the child's birthday is, you may want to be there to support that person.
Mm-hmm.
Bring a bouquet, take them out to dinner, make sure you on them regularly, offer practical help, because sometimes when children and adults, when they pass on, a lot of times people are so traumatized, they don't change their bedroom. Everything is in the bedroom, is in the same place it
Yeah.
was when they
Yeah.
lost their child. So,
Yeah.
you have
And
to
that's
be
happening for
very
even adults,
tender, very
parents.
tender with people that suffer, especially the loss of a child when it is from murder or hit and run or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's very
Anything that's
traumatic. And
sudden.
so you got to be really
Yeah.
tender, but offer practical help,
Yeah.
yeah, practical help. Um,
Yeah.
and
And I want to
just
go back to
send
the
him a
friends
card,
thing because I think,
take him out.
yeah, I was going to say, because I was getting cut off when we talk about friends. I know one of the things that my close circle of friends that we've done, to your point, especially at a loss from death, as you said, it gets quiet once everybody's gone, right? You have all these people around you, and then you're
It's
sitting in your
quiet.
silence. So something that we've done
Yeah.
is we've done, to your point, we've done a weekend together,
You by
and
yourself.
yeah, just trying to, help the person cope. And like you said, following up with folks, even a phone call. And one of the things I would also say is, don't ask folks, what do you need me to do? Because a lot of times, people may not
Thank you.
come forth with it, right? It's like, do what you feel in your
Hmm.
heart, right? A lot of times the person may not be
Yes.
thinking that, or may not even
Right.
want
Yes. Because
to
it's
feel
not
like
that
they
hard.
need
It's
your
not that
help.
difficult.
It is. Just
They're
show
not going to
up.
ask.
Yeah, they're
Show
not. They're
up.
not going to ask. Yeah,
Show up. Yeah,
yeah.
they're not going to ask.
So
Yeah.
let's talk faith, purpose, and meaning. Let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because loss can shake your faith for sure, um, or make you question life itself, right? How can people
Yes.
start to rediscover meaning after everything changes? I'm gonna have you
It
tap into
just,
your pastoral days.
well, loss can definitely shake your faith or make you question life itself. I'm a
Yeah,
witness to that. It happened to me with my tongue talking Holy Ghost anointed self. I was angry with God.
yeah,
I had a hard time reckoning the fact that he allowed my daughter to transition. He's a healer. When the Bible says healing is your children's bread, I just had a hard time reckoning my faith with what God said. But in all of that, the thing I love about God is he will allow you to question him. He will allow you to even be angry with him and upset with him. He allows
Yeah.
us because he knows he was fully God, but he was human. And he went through all of the same things that
Mm-hmm.
we go through in life. So I had my faith. I had my prayer partners. I stayed connected. Again, I stayed away from church for a while, but eventually I did go back. I
Mm-hmm.
meditated a lot. I journaled a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, I, again, I took care of myself, but you know, but I was broken. I was so jacked up. And one night the Lord told me that I needed to go get help. And
Yes.
if I didn't, he would not allow me to keep preaching and ministering to people because I was angry and I was mean.
Yes.
I was mean. I was mean to my kids. I wore my grief on my face, and people could tell
Mm.
that. So I eventually decided, and it took me a while to get there, to go for help. I went for therapy. My therapist, I still go to today. I love her. Yes, she's credentialed. She's a believer, Holy Ghost filled, but I was pretending that I'm all of that, a
Yeah.
bag of chips dipping hot sauce. No, you're jacked up, you're messed up, you're mean, you're evil, and you just need to go and lay it all out. Be
Yeah.
honest, be authentic. So I went and I got some help for that, and that's what people need to do. You can't.
I'm I'm
You're not
so
going to be
glad you
strong
said that,
forever.
Lydia. Yeah. Because sometimes we can,
You're
as
not. You can't do it.
well, and as church folks, we can and look, prayer is good. Prayer is great. Prayer is excellent.
It is.
Um, but there's also the piece that you can do, which is get professional help. And it's funny because during that period of time dealing with my dad's loss, I did the same thing. I went to a therapist because I was dealing with some of my own guilt, like I said, of feeling like I wasn't there at the time when probably what I felt like they needed me the most, my family needed me the most. um and that's a whole other kind of conversation. But lessons learned from that for me is just you don't get a second chance in life to um relive moments when the person is gone, right? So you got to make sure that we're being
Right.
present with our loved
Exactly.
ones as much as possible, and don't put off the things that we think we might be able to do tomorrow, because tomorrow's no promise to any of us, right? So
Nope, it's
um
not.
and you talked at the beginning, time healing. We talked about time, and there's no time limit to grief, right? When it comes to that. Um, so just knowing that there are gonna be times
No,
when
but
you
it
you
just
you
it
float,
gives
you
you
float in
time.
and out.
It just gives you
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yes.
does.
Yes.
Anything
Yeah.
else? Anything else you would want to share that we didn't talk about specifically, that you think is important for people to
Yes.
hear?
Yeah. Let me talk about this. There are types of grief. There are
Okay.
many grief depending on the person and their loss, and some of the different types of grief include this one I'm going to talk about right now. There's four of them. One, two, three. There's five. Disenfranchised grief.
Mm-hmm.
Disenfranchised grief. Disenfranchised grief is also called hidden grief. It may be
Mm-hmm.
because you feel society won't understand your grief. And examples
Mm.
could be having a miscarriage or losing a patient, like a doctor losing a patient, someone that commits suicide, or death caused by DWI. And what that means, disenfranchised, is the person that is involved. Say, for example, the person that committed suicide, his parents, his family
Mm-hmm.
members may not be so easily to comfort because of their religion. For example, they don't believe in, suicide. If you kill yourself, you're going to hell. All right. A child gets hit by a drunk driver. Well, there's not going to be no remorse or pity for the person that killed, this individual, whether it was a man, woman, child. It's grief that's hidden, and society does not always comfort or bring compassion, show compassion for those types of death. Then there's complicated grief. This is a response to death that seems significantly different from just normal expectation. The grief can be absent, it can be delayed, it can be prolonged. And complicated grief is sometimes when you have multiple grief on top of each other. And you don't it's so much, you're so traumatized by it that it kind of paralyzes you. And sometimes the grief reaction is delayed. So you definitely need to get therapy for complicated grief, because sometimes there's addiction that's involved with that. There's depression. There's all behavioral issues with the complicated grief. And then there's anticipatory. This is what I went through with my mom when I was down here in North Carolina for 3.5 years. This is anticipatory grief. It's grief. It's when a loved one is expected to die within a short period of time, but you don't know when they're going to die. But nevertheless, because you don't know. It's like my mom, they took her off of dialysis and we didn't know when she was going to die. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes it could be 5 days too, but you're grieving. Like, it's just like, it's crazy. Like when, you're anxious, you're sad, but you can't, there's no finality to it because they're not gone yet, but yet that you still have these grief emotions. Then there's that breakup. There's that breakup. Why is this a breakup grief? That refers to the grief experience at the end of a relationship. You friends with somebody for 20 years and then they ghost you and they just leave you and you don't know why they left you. That's called breakup grief. And the last one is traumatic grief. The grief occurs with a sudden, somebody shoots your daughter, your husband. So those are the 5 types of grief: disenfranchised, complicated, anticipatory, breakup grief, and traumatic grief. And again, you're going to feel that loss differently based on the relationship you had with that person. Now, did we talk about
Say the question again, Lydia, speaking to the microphone. Say that again.
Did we talk about the myths about grief? MYTHS, that time heals all wounds?
No, we didn't. We didn't. So why don't you, I'm gonna leave it to be the last conversation, the last discussion point that we have. So talk about that.
So time doesn't heal it. Time doesn't heal wounds. Time alone doesn't, heal it. What happens is you have to process it. People don't understand that when I do counseling, it's actually called grief work. You have to do some work in order to get through the bereavement or the grieving period. Again, we talked about being strong, suppressing emotion. That's not strength. When people say, "Oh, don't feel bad," but sadness is a valid and a healthy response. Some people think, "Oh, you can replace the loss." I had 2 miscarriages. I'd have people saying, "Oh, you and your husband could try again in 3 months." No, that doesn't replace the loss. My daughter died. You cannot replace a loss. You can't. Only death causes grief. No, we talked about divorce, illness, transitions, PTSD, abandonment, stillborn, all of that. And again, lastly, it's not, grief doesn't follow a straight line. It's in waves. It's like the ocean, in and out, sis. In and out.
Got to be prepared for it. Well, let me just say, I appreciate you. Lord knows the devil was busy tonight, as the old people will say. With technology, because no matter how well we plan, you just never know what you're going to get. But I appreciate you, Lydia. Why don't you come back on the screen so we can see your face But I thank you, thank you, thank you. And why don't you tell people, and if hopefully you won't get stuck, but tell people what you have coming up. Anything you have coming up?
What I have coming up, I am, well, can I show my book? My last book I
Yeah.
had written, The ABCs of Grief. This is my first attempt at writing a journal. And I wanted to do a journal because there's so many facets of grief, so many emotions. And I wanted people to be able to pick themselves out in between the ABCs, right? And you don't even have to do them in order. It's just however you're feeling. And I left space, for people to write. I have scriptures and I have a prayer for every emotion.
Did you see?
Yes.
I got my copy. Yeah, got my copy. I'm ready.
You're
Look,
ready?
I told you. I realized I need to get to working.
You got to get to work. Yeah, grief is work. You got to work it. Yeah,
that's right.
And so I'm going to also be on I'm going to be writing another book. Again, I mentioned that I did a workshop on high tech, low touch, how to support the grieving in meaningful ways. So I want to put that into a book. So that's coming up. I hope to get that done by the end of the year. And then I want to also write a book for caregivers who care for their parent, sibling, parent who are who have Alzheimer's or who have dementia. I believe that I was, the Lord allowed me to come down here for a reason. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't chronicle or write down, just how meaningful and how impactful, how difficult to see my mom transition, from the person that she used to be. I knew her growing up into becoming someone that it was kind of hard to recognize toward the end.
It's
but
hard.
she still
Dementia,
is my mom. It's so
I'm
hard. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm at the age where I'm dealing with a lot of friends who, we have families who are in, parents who are in this phase, and it's difficult. I know
it's so
seeing
hard.
my dad kind of go through it. I just, it was gut wrenching. You also have 2 other books, and I'm going to share what I'm going to do, because Lydia, you said you wrote a book. I know when we were talking, you wrote a book after your daughter passed away, and you also wrote a book after your husband passed away. Is that correct? Did I hear that right? Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to make sure that I share that, and you can tell people where they can purchase. I'll share it in a follow-up post. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Don't forget, this was my first book. Don't forget to say your prayers, how to activate the power of prayer in every circumstance of your life. I wrote this after my husband died, because I was tripping. I'm like, Lord, carest thou not that I perish in the midst of the storm?
Yeah.
So this was a book kind of challenged my faith, and I wrote a lot about, my faith walk through, the death of my husband. And it was really very surreal. And one thing I don't talk about much is the fact that after my husband died, my son got married 3 weeks after that. Mm-hmm. They had already planned their wedding and everything, and my husband died before my son could get married. So that was like a grief moment for me, because my son got married and I was all alone. So it was my daughter, my husband, and my son leaving me to marry a woman. And I felt so alone. And that's why so many tentacles to grief. It's so many tentacles.
Yeah.
Because why should my son getting married hurt my feelings or make me feel some kind of way? But it did. It's like, I got no.
Well, it was a sense of loss of your son.
I'm all alone, because he went to. It's a loss. My son was so. My God.
Well, it's another loss.
So many things that happened.
It's another loss, Lydia. Another type of loss with your son, right? Too.
It was like,
right?
Jesus, help me.
Yeah.
It was.
Well,
appreciate it was really surreal. But I'm so
glad
to have been here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes.
Okay.
I appreciate you, and y'all I'm gonna sign you off. Stay in the green room for me, Lydia, if you don't mind. Stay in the green room. I'll be right there. And y'all, I appreciate you all for hanging in there. I know several people still online and you're still watching, but I appreciate you. This particular series, Affairs of the Heart, has been a labor of love and somewhat an emotional series for me. Talked about intergenerational friendships. Was the first episode. This episode is about grief. The next topic is going to be around divorce care, y'all. And this series really, I wanted to focus on topics that really tug at the heart. And during the holiday season in particular. So I am looking forward to the guests I have for this next episode. You know, y'all, we got to take care of ourselves. You know, none of us, I think many of us are not prepared for a lot of these things that tend to happen in life, whether it's, you know, a loss or divorce, friendships and how they come and go. So I thought it was important to deal with this topic. So that's my heart for this series, and I look forward to bringing on my guests. The date for it, we just changed the date, but just stay close to my Facebook page, my website, and my Instagram page for the save the date. But until next time, y'all have a great, great evening and have a great rest of the week. Bye.
Bye.